Welcome to Senior Care Insights. Today we're diving into a really interesting conversation. We're drawing on the experience of specialists in geriatric health and psychology.
That's right. And the goal here is really practical wisdom, things that can genuinely enhance health, both physical and mental, for older adults.
We're trying to unpack what really works, based on experience, not just theory.
Exactly. Real-world insights for healthy aging.
So where should we start? Longevity is such a huge topic, isn't it? Everyone seems fascinated by it.
It really is. And you hear a lot about different diets, different secrets, but the blue zones are always compelling examples.
Yes, like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, places where people consistently live longer, healthier lives.
And what's striking is the similarity in, well, particularly in what they eat. Lots of whole, nutrient-dense foods.
Very different from, say, a typical Western diet heavy on processed food.
Absolutely. Which brings us to someone like Dr. Shigaki Hinohara.
Oh, the Japanese physician.
Yeah.
Incredible story, lived to 105.
Exactly. Imagine over a century of observing health and practicing medicine. He didn't just preach longevity, he lived it.
And his approach to diet, from what I understand, was surprisingly simple. Moderate, maybe.
Very much so. No extremes, no fads, just consistency, sustainable eating.
Let's look at his routine. Breakfast was coffee, milk, orange juice, and interestingly, a tablespoon of olive oil.
Yeah, apparently he believed it was good for his arteries and skin, which, aligns with what we know about monounsaturated fats and antioxidants.
Makes sense. And lunch. Very light, it seems.
Sometimes just milk and a few biscuits, or even nothing if he was very busy.
That really challenges the idea that we need 3 big meals plus snacks, doesn't it?
It does. And it hints at something else he practiced: not overeating. We'll probably circle back to that.
Okay. And dinner was typically vegetables, a bit of fish, and rice.
Right, and lean meat, only about 100 grams, just twice a week. Plus a little dark chocolate sometimes.
It sounds quite balanced, actually. Enjoyable, even.
And a key thing he noticed, apparently, was about weight.
Oh, what was that?
That people who live exceptionally long lives are generally not overweight. It's a consistent finding, really.
That makes sense. Excess weight puts a strain on everything.
It really does. Heart, joints, metabolic system. Dr. Hinohara's observation is simple, but profound.
And this connects to that other practice you mentioned, stopping eating when you're about 80% full.
Exactly. Hara Hachibu, as it's known in Okinawa.
Right, I've heard of that. It seems to pop up in these long-lived populations.
Dr. Hinohara certainly seemed to advocate for it. It's less about strict calorie counting and more about, well, listening to your body, being mindful.
Which is quite different from the clean-your-plate mentality many of us grew up with.
Very different. He was also conscious about avoiding too much sugar and processed foods.
Well, that's standard advice now, isn't it? Because of oxidative stress, inflammation.
Precisely. Insulin resistance, too. All things that can accelerate aging. There was even a Japanese study linking whole natural food diets to lower inflammation and longer lives.
So it's the overall pattern, not just one magic food.
That seems to be the key takeaway.
Okay, so diet is huge. But Dr. Hinohara's wisdom wasn't just about food, was it? He talked about movement, too.
Oh, absolutely. His principle was basically never stop moving, even in old age.
Which is vital for muscle, bone health, heart, even your brain function as you get older.
Definitely. And he wasn't necessarily talking about hitting the gym hard every day.
No. He famously took the stairs, right? Avoided elevators.
Little things like that. Integrating movement into daily life. Gardening, walking, finding opportunities.
Making it part of your routine, not a chore.
Exactly.
And then there's the mental side. He believed in staying engaged, having a purpose, even past retirement age.
This is so important. That idea of ikigai, a reason to get up in the morning.
A sense of purpose. It's deeply rooted in Japanese culture, isn't it?
It is. And it's strongly linked to fulfillment and longevity. It doesn't have to be a job, necessarily.
No, it could be hobbies, volunteering, relationships. Just something that gives life meaning. Dr. Hinohara himself kept working past 100.
Amazing. His view was that disengaging can lead to losing that vital spark. Setting goals, even small ones, keeps you motivated.
And what about managing stress? Cultivating positivity?
He definitely emphasized that. Laughter, joy, a positive outlook, they genuinely impact physical health. Chronic stress does the opposite.
So doing things that bring happiness, music, art, time with friends, it's not just fluff, it's part of the health equation.
Absolutely. And he advised against dwelling on hardships or holding grudges. Emotional resilience matters, letting go of negativity.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's circle back to Hara Hachibu, eating until 80% full. It sounds simple,
Yeah.
but what are the deeper benefits?
Well, as we touched on, it's a cornerstone in places like Okinawa. Scientifically, moderate calorie restriction without malnutrition is linked to lower risks.
Lower risk of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, the big ones.
Right. You're reducing the metabolic strain on your body, less oxidative stress, and it might even kickstart autophagy.
Autophagy, that's the cellular cleanup process, right?
Uh-huh.
We should definitely talk more about that later.
We should. Plus, eating less likely helps regulate hunger hormones better, like ghrelin and leptin.
Okay, so you feel satisfied without being overstuffed. And it's probably easier on digestion, too.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Less overload, maybe better nutrient absorption.
So practically speaking, how do people do hara hachibu? It's not like there's a gauge.
No, not quite. But there are tricks. Using smaller plates helps psychologically.
Right, visual cues.
Pausing during the meal gives your brain time to catch up with your stomach. Trying to really notice the difference between satisfaction and actual fullness.
And maybe putting down the fork between bites, turning off the TV.
Definitely minimizing distractions helps you tune in. Starting with soup or salad can also help fill you up with fewer calories.
Those are good, actionable tips. Now, another thing that stood out, especially from Okinawa, was the focus on plant-based proteins.
Yes, particularly soy foods. Tofu, miso, edamame, natto, these are staples there.
Providing complete protein and other beneficial compounds like isoflavones.
Right, which research suggests might be good for arteries, bone density, maybe even hormonal balance.
And it's often the traditional preparations, isn't it? Fermented, minimally processed soy.
That seems important. And it's not only soy. They eat other beans, like azuki beans, chickpeas, too.
And there's some thought that plant proteins might be gentler on the kidneys than large amounts of animal protein.
That's a significant point, especially as kidney function can decline with age. So shifting the balance towards plant proteins seems wise.
Easy ways to do that. Maybe tofu in a smoothie? Or a stir fry? Miso soup before a meal?
All great options. Small, consistent swaps can make a big difference over time.
Okay, what about fermented foods, another big thing in Japanese tradition?
Huge. Yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, they've been part of traditional diets for ages, believed to strengthen immunity.
And we now know it's largely about the gut microbiome, right? Probiotics.
Exactly. Feeding those beneficial gut bacteria, that's crucial for digestion, nutrient absorption, and yes, immune function.
And even mental health. The gut-brain axis connection seems increasingly clear.
It does. These foods help create a healthy gut environment, produce digestive enzymes, and potentially even some vitamins like B vitamins and K.
So how to get more? Miso, like we said, maybe some naturally fermented pickles?
Yep.
Sourdough bread?
Yes, and look for the unpasteurized, refrigerated versions of things like sauerkraut or kimchi if you know the live cultures.
Good tip. Okay, let's tackle carbs. They get such a bad rap sometimes.
They really do. But the Okinawan diet, for example, relies heavily on things like Japanese purple sweet potatoes. It's about smart carbs.
Purple sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
What's special about them?
They're packed with anthocyanins. Those are powerful antioxidants, great for blood vessels, plus fiber, potassium, vitamin C, and they usually have a lower glycemic index.
Better for blood sugar control. Didn't Dr. Hanahara prefer sweet potatoes to rice?
He did, yes. And research links those anthocyanin-rich foods to better blood vessel function, less inflammation, maybe even slower cognitive decline.
So practical tips. Choose colorful sweet potatoes. Maybe cook and cool rice to increase resistant starch.
That's a good one. Exploring other traditional options like taro or mountain yam and pairing carbs with healthy fats helps slow absorption.
And maybe timing. Eating more carbs earlier in the day.
That can be helpful for some people, yeah. When your insulin sensitivity might be higher.
Okay, moving beyond specific foods, let's talk about rhythm. Lifestyle rhythm and a positive outlook. Dr. Hanahara seemed to value consistency.
Absolutely. Consistent daily patterns really help regulate our internal biological clocks, our circadian rhythms, and that affects our stress response, our hormones.
So erratic sleep, irregular meals, just constant reactivity, that throws things off. Like melatonin and cortisol.
It definitely can disrupt that delicate endocrine balance. Predictable routines are quite grounding for the body.
So things like morning rituals, maybe stretching, hydrating, a moment of gratitude.
Simple things like that. Transition rituals like a cup of tea mid-afternoon, a walk after meals, a wind-down routine before bed, maybe less screen time.
Setting up a predictable flow. And does purpose, that ikigai, fit in here too?
I think so. Having meaning contributes to overall hormonal balance and well-being. It reduces that feeling of aimless stress.
Okay, now autophagy, we mentioned it earlier. This cellular recycling system. Sounds fascinating.
It really is. Dr. Asumi won the Nobel Prize for figuring out the mechanisms. Essentially, it's your body's way of cleaning house at the cellular level, removing damaged parts, recycling them.
Sort of built-in regeneration process. And it helps maintain healthy cells, potentially lowers disease risk.
That's the idea. Lower risk for things like cancer, neurodegenerative diseases. It supports immune function. It's fundamental for cellular health.
So how do we encourage it? How do we activate autophagy?
Well, one of the main triggers, supported by a lot of research now, is intermittent fasting, creating a window each day where you're not consuming calories.
How long a window are we talking?
Many proponents suggest around 12 to 16 hours, often achieved just by having an earlier dinner and a later breakfast. It gives your body a break from constant digestion to focus on repair.
And didn't Dr. Turiya's research show benefits beyond just weight loss, like metabolic efficiency, antioxidant production?
Yes, his work suggests fasting triggers positive metabolic shifts, potentially even having anti-aging effects at the cellular level.
And Hora Hachibu, the 80% full rule, does that connect?
It likely does, yeah. It's a form of gentle calorie restriction, which also seems to encourage autophagy without requiring full fasting. Less constant metabolic work.
Some experts, like Dr. Ishihara, even suggest specific fasting protocols, like liquid breakfasts.
Yes, various modified approaches exist to try and optimize that autophagy window.
Are there foods that help or hinder it?
Generally, a whole food, plant-rich diet provides the nutrients needed for the process. So vegetables, seaweed, fermented foods, fish, legumes, whole grains. Green tea might offer mild support.
And what hinders it?
Mostly processed foods and excess sugar, they seem to suppress the process. Oh, and Dr. Homi Shinya also mentioned a 16-hour overnight fast, didn't he? The Shinya little fast.
Right. And hydration is important too, presumably.
Crucial for metabolism in general, and likely for autophagy efficiency too.
This is all really compelling. Finally, one last piece Dr. Hanahara emphasized: social connection.
Yes, critically important, not just for mental well-being, but for longevity and fulfillment too.
It's easy to overlook, isn't it? But spending time with loved ones, maintaining friendships, community involvement.
It provides vital emotional support, a sense of belonging. Humans are social creatures, after all. It's a fundamental need.
He really lived that too, staying connected. It's a reminder that health is holistic, physical, mental, and social.
Absolutely. His long life and teachings really underscore that it's not about one magic bullet. It's the combination, the whole lifestyle.
So, to wrap up our deep dive today, the message seems pretty clear, doesn't it? A balanced approach is key.
Definitely. Integrating mindful eating, regular movement, finding purpose, managing stress, staying connected. These are the common threads.
We talked about practical things like Hora Hachibu, focusing on plant-based and fermented foods, making smart carb choices.
And the importance of staying active in simple ways, nurturing a positive outlook, and even understanding processes like autophagy and how lifestyle can support that cellular renewal.
There's a lot there for our listeners to think about, perhaps incorporate into their own lives or share with loved ones.
We hope it's been valuable. If you found this helpful, please do give the video a like, maybe share it.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts or questions in the comments below. What resonated with you?
And please do subscribe to Senior Care Insights. We'll be having more of these in-depth conversations about health and well-being for older adults.
We look forward to continuing the journey with you. Thanks for tuning in.